professionalism. She's also a lovely lady, and we are so lucky to have her as part of RoB. So let's welcome Elizabeth. All yours, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Anna. Now I'm going to share my screen with you all. And I'm using, okay, still using Chris's screen, it says here. Try again. It says that I'm not able to share my screen because it's disabled.
I've just made you to do that. You should get a co-host invite. Sorry about that. Is that working for you, Elizabeth?
Yep. Okay. Yep. Thank you. All right. So you should be able to see my screen now, guys. Okay. So what I thought I would share with you today is some of the business legal issues that we're helping clients with. We're all about risk reduction, and the theme of this talk really is to be aware of some of the issues that are really hotspots, so to speak, to use an overused term, I suppose, in this day and age, in relation to what some businesses are currently experiencing. Anna has already given me an introduction, so I will skip this, but essentially we've been doing this for more years than I care to count. Gonna work on the facelift soon, I think. But a central focus of our business is helping small to medium-sized businesses. We deal with a lot of private business owners, and essentially the three business areas that we follow or that we track are business law, estate planning, and property and conveyancing. A little introduction to my team. We have essentially three service areas: wills and estates, conveyancing, and commercial, and each one of my team members are in effect the client service managers for those areas and have responsibility for the service delivery in those areas. Now, we've had a lot to get used to in the COVID period. So traditionally, this is my office here located in Brighton, and those, you've just seen my team that I'm used to working with. Now in lockdown, I've got this. There's a new team member here. I've caught her sleeping on the job quite a bit. I'm going to have to undertake some disciplinary action, I think, very soon. And she's also sleeping on my laptop bag there. So one of the big areas, as a small business owner, many of the largest outgoings, if you like, are two things: your wages and your rent. And the area of leasing disputes has become very big during this pandemic because of course, a lot of businesses have been completely closed and not able to trade. You only need to walk down some of the sort of major commercial trading centers like Chapel Street, Bridge Road, to see a lot of for lease signs, which is an indication of what's going on in this area. The government, to avoid the hemorrhaging, has produced this mandatory code of conduct, which creates this commercial tenancy relief scheme. And what it is it sets up a framework for landlords and tenants to negotiate in good faith rent relief in the form of waivers or deferrals. Originally it was set to go for 6 months, but of course COVID is going for longer, and so there's a proposal that it will now continue on until the end of December. The way that these disputes are addressed is that the parties attempt to negotiate themselves, but in the harder cases they go off to mediation through a service that's been set up through the Small Business Commissioner. And I'm going to a property law seminar after this all day, so I want a lot of sympathy out of you people, because I'll be sitting here learning the intricacies of all of this and all the updates. But they tell me that there's about an 88% success rate in resolving these disputes at the mediation stage, which is great. And as I said, it's now going to be extended through to the 31st of December. I suspect it will end up being extended beyond that as well. The other area is the area of employment law advice. Again, usually the second largest outgoing of a business, possibly the largest outgoing, would be what you pay your staff. And so obviously getting this area right is really important, and Sharon would obviously endorse that. But one of the big issues has been working from home, and notwithstanding that your staff are sort of out of sight and hopefully not out of mind, that you, as an employer, you still have obligations around providing a safe system of work for your staff who are working from home. Another area that we've had a fair bit of work in is obviously giving advice around redundancies and terminations. The same rules apply. I think some employers have forgotten that there's still a method and a process to follow, and if you get it wrong, you'll end up in Fair Work. I recently had a matter where all names will be withheld, but a small allied health business fired an independent contractor for making complaints about poor hygiene practices in the practice. So he made about 4 complaints, and they terminated him. And so this then raises the issue of bringing up workplace rights. And so things can come out of left field. So the moral of the story is to get some advice so that you don't put a foot wrong and end up with an expensive claim on your hands, so that you can actually carry on and conduct dismissals and employee matters, so that you don't end up costing yourself a lot of money. Because in Australia, having an employment relationship is considered an important economic right for employees. And so the whole framework is really set up to protect those economic rights and make sure that they are handled appropriately. We see a lot of clients getting in trouble in the area of independent contractor arrangements, because this is a very vexed area, and it is more prevalent in some industries like allied health, for example, than others. But you've got to be very careful if you're entering into independent contractor arrangements. Just make sure that you get advice. There are rules around whether you've got to pay independent contractors super and the like, and I see a lot of employers falling over in these areas. So get some advice. It often occurs too with startups where they think, oh, I don't know whether I want to take on an employee or not. I'll just make them an independent contractor and then I can get out of it whenever I want. We just got to be very careful about making those kinds of assumptions. And then finally in this area, there's been a lot of in the media about job keeper incentives, and there are also issues, of course, around pandemic leave. If somebody needs to be on leave because they or a close associate have been exposed to the virus, and they need to be basically isolating themselves from home. So these are all sort of hotspot areas that we've seen in our practice. Another area, and again, Nellie and Josie will tell you that in a recession, cash is king. Make sure your business is as cash flow solid as possible. So one of the things that you can do as a business owner is to have a look at, well, how do you collect the debts, or how do you collect payment from your customers, and what can you do to make things more secure for yourself? So for example, asking for a deposit up front if you're going to do a large job for them is one way. Another way is to be, another change I guess to be aware of is that there have been changes in debt recovery. This is really in the area of large debt recovery matters, such as the corporations law has been changed and it will sunset after 6 months, but for the moment, the ability to serve what's called a creditor statutory demand, which in essence commences the process of insolvency, has been softened, if you like. You need to be owed at least $20,000, and the debtor has 6 months to address that issue once receiving a service notice. The idea is that the government's trying to cushion the blow for cash-strapped people, and this will sunset in October. We're not certain whether the government will extend it yet. I haven't seen any announcements about this area yet. But another way you can protect yourself is look at your terms of trade. How do people engage your business? And make sure that there are no holes. Make sure you're not using, we see some sort of faceplant type of documents that some people have cobbled together off the internet, and they often are not protecting you the way that you should be protected when you're doing work for people. So those are ways that you can have a look at your business and try to protect yourself in the event that you need to collect debts that people owe you. A third issue is in the area of asset protection, and the matters that I've just spoken about all lead into this area, and that is that leases are often signed with personal guarantees. Trading debts leave a business owner exposed, as do the potential costs of a claim from an employee. So you want to have a think about doing some strategic asset planning and think about how you hold your assets, and if you are exposed. I don't know if anybody recognizes this home. This is George Columbaris's home that got sold in Turak. And the reason being, of course, he had a very large underpayment of wages claim against him. Apart from the reputational damage, there's real cost to his business, and he's essentially now gone. And so his house has gone under the hammer. That would be a good commission, wouldn't it, Zeno? So
Holy cow, yep.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and look, he's probably going to be in the market for a loan pretty soon too, Rory. But he's going to have a bit of a bad track record in terms of, you might have some struggles getting the approval across for him at the moment. But so be aware of the debts of your business, what personal guarantees you've signed, if you have had to sign them. And look, in many ways, as when you're dealing with banks, if you're borrowing in the name of a company, it's almost non-negotiable that the directors will have to sign personal guarantees. So have a think about how you've structured yourself and try to minimize your exposure. I have a client who's got, turns over hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and I think he owns maybe his golf sticks, and that's about it, because he's structured everything so that he doesn't own anything, but he has a $12 million personal guarantee signed to the NAB. So it makes you sweat just watching him sign it. Anyway, that very important sort of considerations to have in the current, because of course protecting your family home is really important for not only you, but for your family. So those are the sort of hotspot areas that we've been looking after during this period of time. The idea is about minimizing your risk so that you can run your business as easily as possible and being able to sleep at night. But of course, if you can't sleep at night, go and see Dr. Jim. He will fix you up. And finally, our point of difference, if you were to refer matters to us, is that we are always happy to have an initial discussion with clients. At the moment, we're doing them on Zoom, obviously, but happy to have an initial consultation for an hour to find out what is your problem, can we help you, and give you a short roadmap of, well, if we were to assist you, this is what it would look like. Before we do any work, we always give people a scope of works and a quote for our fees up front so they know what they're up for. So I think a lot of people are concerned about picking up the phone and ringing a lawyer because it's like, is the meter running? Am I going to get charged? Well, we're happy to help, and this is, if you have a look on our website, there's a way of filling in a contact form and making an appointment for an initial consultation. So that's about it for me, but there's my details if I can help anybody with any issues. Always happy to have a chat. It's the first week of spring, so it's very exciting. We've had some nice sunny days, very nice to get out at lunchtime and have a little wander around the block. Probably we're turning our minds now to the spring racing carnival, and here's apparently the latest fashion that's coming up for spring racing. So ladies, get your masks ready is all I can say.